Shocking crimes that have never been solved. The boy in the box. In 1957, the body of a small boy was found naked and beaten in a cardboard box in northern Philadelphia. The boy was clean, his toenails clipped, and his arms folded across his chest. He was never identified, and police eventually buried him in a field outside Philadelphia. The Chicago Tylenol poisonings. In 1982, 7 people in Chicago died after taking Tylenol that was laced with cyanide. Johnson & Johnson had nothing to do with the poisoning and successfully bounced back due to their honesty with the public and their cooperation with the FBI. The case was never solved and led to the creation of tamper-proof caps we find on so many medications, foods and drinks. The Black Dahlia. Elizabeth Short was an aspiring actress and call girl. She was found naked, cut in half, badly beaten and sexually assaulted in a vacant parking lot in Los Angeles in 1947. The murder was exceptionally violent and sparked a media frenzy. The newspapers dubbed her the Black Dahlia in honor of her jet black hair and clothing. The death of Edgar Allan Poe. In October of 1849, Poe was found on the streets of Baltimore. He was delirious with tremors and hallucinations. He slipped in and out of a coma for 4 days before dying in the hospital. He was never coherent enough to explain his mysterious condition. The Commissioner of Health certified that the cause of death was congestion of the brain, but all medical records and documents have been lost. Not even the official death certificate of the late Edgar Allan Poe has ever been uncovered. The Wallace case. The murder of Julia Wallace in 1931 reads like a detective story. Julia's husband, William Wallace, received a mysterious phone call asking him to visit a non-existent address. While William was out, Julia was violently murdered. There was no apparent motive for the murder. William Wallace himself was tried and acquitted. Many believe the killer is still alive and living in South London. D.B. Cooper. In 1971, on a flight from Portland to Seattle, passenger D.B. Cooper threatened to blow up the plane unless he received $200,000 in cash. He collected the money in the Seattle airport and then demanded that the pilot fly him back to Oregon. While airborne, Cooper parachuted off the plane into the dark with the money strapped to his torso. Cooper and the money were never found. The case remains as the FBI's only unsolved plane hijacking. The Brighton trunk murder. In 1934, a trunk at the Brighton railway station was found containing the torso of a woman in her mid-20s. She was about 3 months pregnant. The legs were found in another suitcase at King's Cross Station. There was an oil on the corpse used by surgeons to stop heavy bleeding. This suggested that the murderer could have been a medical man. Years of investigations failed to reveal any clue to the murderer or the identity of the girl. Gardner Museum. The Gardner Museum robbery is considered one of the greatest art heists in history. On St. Patrick's Day in 1990, 2 men dressed as policemen stole 13 paintings from the Boston Museum with an estimated value of $300 million. To add insult to injury, they simply knocked at the door and security let them in. The paintings were cut directly from the frames in a brutal manner. The monster with 21 faces. In the 1980s, the Japanese food giant Izaki Glico was blackmailed by a mysterious group calling itself the Monster with 21 Faces. They kidnapped the company's president, set their parking lot on fire, and poisoned some of their candies, costing the company millions in recalls. Eventually, they moved on and terrorized several corporate giants for years without ever getting caught. The disembodied feet. In August of 2007, 5 human feet washed up on the shores of Vancouver, Canada. The feet were still clad in sneakers and came with no body, head, or clothes. It has been speculated that they could belong to the victims of a plane crash off the Quadra Island. Authorities and civilians are still looking at this case as a potential murder.